Okay, if you have your Street Strider, could be any model, and your joint number 1 has this gap and this kind of motion to it, that is a result of a screw in the back of this spindle on the inside that is loose. I'm going to show you how to tighten that. It's a very simple fix. To gain access to this joint number 1 spindle, you will need to disconnect joint number 2, which is a 17 millimeter nut and an 8 millimeter bolt here. However, if you're getting this same kind of motion on the left side of the crossbar here, you can just remove the quick release crank arm as if you were to fold the unit and have access to the spindle. So in order to take joint number 2 off, what you're going to need for this whole procedure, in your toolkit you'll have an 8 millimeter Allen end wrench, a 4 millimeter and a 3 millimeter Allen end wrench, and then a 17 millimeter open end wrench. So we're going to start with the 3, come up here to these set screws, and you're going to take these almost all the way out. Do not take them all the way out, and do not lose them if they fall out. Go ahead and get this here. And if you can look up close, you'll see the amount of threads I'm bringing out of this crossbar. There's 2 on the back side and 2 on the front side here. Yep. Then you'll take your 4, and we'll take out this pan head screw right here, and this one will come all the way out. Again, do not lose these pieces. Let's take that out. Now we're going to get our 8 millimeter Allen end wrench and the 17 millimeter open end wrench and take off the nut on the back side and the bolt on the outside. Just going to take this off. Yep, nut in the washer. And you just start unscrewing, just kind of pushing from one end. It'll come out, you might have to work with it a little bit, but yep. And while you're unscrewing this, make sure you're holding on to the pole and the ski so they don't fall off once you get this loose. So go ahead and get that out. Like this, bring this down. Now you can bring this all the way out like that. It's this screw right here. This little countersunk screw is loose. See how that's moving all around? That's allowing the bearings to slide back and forth, which is that exact play that we saw earlier. So you want to make sure you get this thing tightened using your 4, same 4 as before. Screw that on. Make sure that washer is seated. And it doesn't have to be as tight as possible, but you want to get it pretty snug. And now there's going to be much less movement in joint number 1. So you're going to align this up, get in there, and then slide it in. Now, after that, you'll take your 3 millimeter, you'll go ahead and tighten these back up. And you only want to snug these down. Do not over tighten these or you'll seize up the bearings on the inside, making this whole functionality useless. And then it'll do something else you don't want. So just get these snug just a little bit. That keeps it exactly where it needs to be. You take your 4 and your little pan head screw right here. That on. And this one you want a little bit tighter than snug. You don't want to crank these down because you don't want to strip it, but get that in there. Now we come down here, line up joint number 2. That's like this. Get your bolt. You can take your Allen 8 millimeter. Push and screw. Yeah, and you'll feel when that starts to go in like that. There you go. Get your washer, 17 millimeter nut, 17 millimeter wrench, and get this decently tight, just to the point where the nylon on the inside of this nut is going to be gripping the threads. Now if you look up here, there's much less play. Now if you have this much play, you're fine.